Broadsword calling Danny Boy.
Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. A sort of game of interplanetary I Spy going on here, but I'm going to do a general one here about the history of bullshit and how we are basically lied to and manipulated by the press and the media and other organisations around the world. Starting with the Tooth Fairy. Now, I will get onto Mars at some point. This is going to be quite complex, so bear with me on this. I've got a lot of stuff up here to get through. Now, what spurred this idea to do this video was there was a little bit of controversy in my last video about Crow 77. There's no real controversy there. I didn't have any permission from him to use his footage, which I then analysed and called into question his theories about the moon being a hologram and so on and so forth. Not really a conspiracy there. There's nothing much to report there. I should have asked permission to use the footage. I didn't. He then asked me to remove it, so I did. So don't get too irate about it. I know some of you are a little bit concerned, but there's nothing much to worry about. And let's move on. Not really a problem. Okay. Let's start with the Flat Earth Society. Now, basically, there's a lot of people out there who may be saying that or implying that we never left Earth and that we've not been to the moon, we've not landed on the moon, we've not been anywhere else apart from in near Earth orbit. Well, which is absolutely ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. My father actually worked on the Apollo 11 missions back in the late 60s and lived in America, in California, in fact, for 1 or 2 years whilst he was working there as a thermodynamic engineer, and was working on the heat shielding for the Apollo 11. So, as were many other people. I mean, there was at that time, there were about 250,000 people working for NASA on that particular mission at the time, from all over the world. Bristol, where I come from, has got a history of aeronautics and that sort of engineering and aircraft engineering, that kind of thing. So there were quite a few that travelled to America from Bristol to work over there on the program, and there we go. So yeah, I'll just sort of say that about the Flat Earth Society. And the thing is, the flat Earth, I mean, how anyone can say there's a flat Earth? These people must have never been sailing or been on a cruise or on a boat out at sea before, because anyone who has will tell you that you can see the curvature of the Earth on the horizon just by looking at it, without binoculars, without any sort of equipment, without a camera. You could just look at the horizon and it curves. It actually shows the curvature of the Earth. This is much more obvious when you're out at sea, because your view is not obscured by things in the way like buildings and that kind of thing. So, and whilst we're on that sort of flat Earth perspective, I've got a lot of stuff up here, so bear with me on this. The Rover recently hasn't seemed to have moved much for the last few months. In fact, not since, I don't actually think it's hardly moved since the beginning of November last year, which is ridiculous. I couldn't tell you the exact date, but it's November last year, I think, was the last time it moved more than a couple of inches. And it's just kind of been sat here doing very little. It's drilled a couple of holes here and there. Yeah, great. Marvellous. There's one or two things in this image. This is the latest selfie. Now, my top hitting video, which is let's get it up here. Hang on. It's been heavily criticised. My top hitter. I'll just quickly get it up and just mention this whilst we're on the subject. Where YouTube? Okay. Yeah. Now this selfie, the latest selfie, shows a lot of damage on the Rover, and other people I think have recently mentioned this. If you look at the wheel here, it really is in a very terrible condition. It's ripped punched full of holes. I mean, this is what happens when you keep running over priceless artifacts. You know, it will make holes in an inferior designed wheel. It does have 6 wheels, and most of them, as far as I can tell, seem okay. This one isn't too bad, although it's got a few puncture holes here as well through the metal. I mean, who the hell made these things? You know, you've got to ask. You've got to ask who made these wheels, because you know, the Spirit and the opportunity of being out there for 10 years. Well, the Spirit is no longer working, of course, it's gone offline, but the opportunity is still running, and it's been out there over 10 years, and hasn't had too many problems. So what the hell were they thinking? I know this is a lot bigger, it's a lot heavier, weighs about 900 kilograms or something, this thing, but obviously on Mars it wouldn't weigh that much because there's only about half the gravity. So, but this is what happens when you run over priceless artifacts without watching where you're going too carefully, and destroying and obfuscating evidence wherever it goes, until now, where it's just stuck in this kind of little valley here on the sort of, well, it's not really in a valley. I think it's on a bit of a hill here, actually, sticking up. But that's probably an optical illusion due to the camera. And there are 1 or 2 interesting things on Mount Sharp here. There's what looks like a strange structure here. I have taken clips of this, but the picture is such terrible quality and so grungy that I sort of drew around it, cut this thing out and cropped it and enlarged it and mucked around with it. But it's not really even worth showing because you can't really tell what it is. But it is something weird there anyway. I may do this in an upcoming video, just a real quick one, you know, like a little 2-minute wonder. And there do seem to be structures down here. I mean, this could be a part of a building foundation just here, like a wall or eroded part of a building foundation. There are lots of people have published building foundations not that far from here. So, and there are some interesting structures on the edge of Mount Sharp, which I still can't make out. There's like these long straight ridges that go right along. May come back to that in another video. Okay, I just thought I'd show this because basically I think the rover is going to pack up, or at least they're going to fake it packing up. They may have found a way into Mount Sharp or a way across the riverbed here and want to go over there, but they don't want us to see it up close. So they may say, oh, oops, the rover's gone offline and we'll have to shut it down or something. So people have, like me and Chris at Mars Anomalies and Will at What's on the Sky 37 channel, we've all been predicting this for a year or two now, that when it got to Mount Sharp it would suddenly malfunction. So we shall see what happens there. I'm very skeptical about this. The image quality is terrible as usual, and unless you get something right up close to the rover, you really don't see any detail at all. So that was that. So the history of bullshit. Now, getting back to the main premise of this video, you know, we are basically lied to from as soon as we're born. Excuse me. We are basically lied to from a very early age. As soon as we were able to understand our parents, basically, they start lying to us. We're lied to about the Tooth Fairy. We're lied to about Father Christmas. You know, these are kind of quite nice lies, really, because it's just an excuse to spoil your kids and buy them stuff. But basically, this idea of lying to children goes back probably thousands of years. You know, there were many old sort of stories and fairy tales about wolves and, you know, Little Red Riding Hood and all that sort of thing. Some of these stories go back hundreds and hundreds of years. You know, this is part of our culture, but it's a lot more sinister than that in many ways, and the media seem to perpetuate a lot of lies about us and about our kids and about what's really going on. And they don't. And when it comes to Mars, for instance, they don't actually like to print anything about Mars unless it's something to scare you with. Now, a good example of this is the one I got published last year. This is, I think, November last year. Oh no, this is more recent. But yeah, I cannot believe it. Latest bizarre rock spotted on Mars appears to look like heavy artillery. Okay. And it mentions me here, Joe White, 45 from Bristol. Yeah. Okay. This was the canon that hit it big last year, and lots of people published this. I was the first to get it up in the mainstream, I think. And I may have been the first to publish it. I'm not sure, actually. I can't remember now. But there was also this one as well, the handgun. This didn't hit it quite so big. This looks like a little pistol or something on the Mars surface here. And there's a clip from my video that they put up. This is the Metro, which is a huge paper in the UK. It's one of those free ones that you can read on the tube or on the train or something. And a lot of people read it. See, they were only interested in this story because it was used in a way to scare people. Are aliens prepared to go to war? Yeah, okay. Right. I don't agree with that whatsoever. If there was a war up there, I think it's been over for quite some time. I mean, it was cool. This got me a lot of extra hits and stuff. But it does seem that the media do only like to talk about Mars or space in a way to scare people, as in, oh, we're going to get hit by an asteroid and the world's going to end. You know, there's aliens on Mars and they're going to attack. You know, that kind of thing. I mean, this is just BS basically, and this just proves what many of us have thought about the press, that basically they're only interested in really spreading fear amongst the population. And whether that's terrorism or anything else. I mean, and if you look at news coverage in general, the amount of stuff we've had about terrorism in the last 10 or 20 years is absolutely unbelievable. We are being bludgeoned on a daily basis about various terrorist groups and various terrorist things. And if there aren't any terrorist attacks for them to report on, they will go back to one and because it's the anniversary of this attack or the anniversary of that attack, you know, and they will regurgitate old terrorist stories, and also there'll be court cases which often go on for years, where they keep reporting on something over and over again because there's a court case about it, and yeah, this could go on and on and on. So you have one event, say like the one in London, where the army guy, I can't remember his name now, got his head cut off by a couple of radical sort of terrorist guys, you know, supposedly. And basically we had this for months running on TV, and now we got the court case. They're regurgitating it, and it's in all the papers again. So, no, I'm not saying that wasn't a real event, of course, and these things should be reported, but it's gratuitous. And the thing is, this happens a lot with anything like terrorism or anything like that. The press latch onto it; they absolutely love it. I'm a journalist myself. I've had quite a few things published in the papers over the last year or so, and I disagree with it. I think they're going too far with a lot of this stuff, and they are really pushing the terrorism thing because they seem to have an agenda, and that agenda is to keep us constantly at war for some reason. Why this is, I have absolutely no idea. Is it a conspiracy? Could be. Are they in cahoots with the arms manufacturers and people in the government who want to be at war constantly? Possibly. Couldn't tell you for sure. Who knows? I mean, you know, and when it comes to disclosure, you know, someone like Barack Obama, if he had absolute proof that there were aliens and that Roswell, we all know Roswell was real, of course. This is a portrait I've done of Barack Obama a few years ago. This is from one of my very early posts on YouTube. This is a speed painting kind of video, but basically, I'm not sure if he's actually even interested in the UFOs or anything. A lot of US presidents were in the past. JFK was, and in fact, I read a story the other day saying that he actually went to an Air Force base somewhere. I can't remember which one it was exactly. It might be White Sands, or it was an Air Force base near Air 51, you know, somewhere like that. I'm not sure which one, but you can Google this, and he saw the corpses of the 3 dead aliens from Roswell. Now, he wanted to actually disclose this to the public. Not only did he want votes for black people and lots of other kind of revolutionary things at the time, and also he kind of pissed off a lot of people in the military because he refused to go into Vietnam, and there were many reasons why he was shot, but I do actually think that one of the main reasons was the fact that he was going to disclose that the Roswell aliens were real and that we have been visited by little grey dudes from space or whatever, and that is one of many reasons why he was assassinated. And I do sympathise with the American public on this, because I really think that the American public have never really recovered from that assassination, because if you look at what's happening now in America, and I know a lot of you guys out there are American that watch this channel, and my wife actually lived in America when her father was working for NASA, so I do know a little about America, and I do sympathise with Americans in many ways, and I really do think that America psychologically as a nation has never really gained that trust that was lost on that day when JFK was shot. I really think that. And I think a lot of the problems in America now actually stem from that, and a lot of the disbelief that especially Americans have for the moon landings and lots of other things like 9/11. I mean, 9/11 may have been faked, at least in part. Some of it is very, very dubious. I won't go into that because that's a whole different thing, and not my area of expertise really. But that it is possible, that we have been duped in certain areas, and there could have been a grand deception in some areas. But a lot of conspiracy theories are just that. They are just theories, and should be considered as just theories. And we all know that the JFK assassination was a conspiracy of some sort, and it goes very, very deep into the American military and secret services like the CIA and the FBI and the NSA and all those organizations, who are also involved with NASA and may well be, I think, controlling a lot of the information that NASA are trying to give the public and are being prevented from by people like the CIA and Department of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency. I can understand the mistrust that the public have over these issues, and I can understand why a lot of people would rather believe we never went to the moon. But we've got to be careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater here. And there is plenty of evidence that we did land on the moon. And just because some of the images were faked, a lot of them were doctored. A lot of them had the horizons removed and objects removed from the background so that we couldn't see them. But just because some of them were fake, and even some of the moving footage was faked before they even went to the moon, it doesn't mean the whole thing was fake. It's a bit like saying, okay, like 1% of dollar bills are fake, so you have to throw all your money away and never use money again. Give me all your money because some of it's fake. Well, no, you're not going to give all your money away just because you got a $1 bill or a $10 bill that's fake. It's just not going to happen, And this is also another argument. You have things like crop circles, where you have many of them are faked, and in fact I know people that do go around faking crop circles in the UK. They go down to Wiltshire and Somerset and places like that, and they go out at night with these planks and wood and long pieces of rope and stuff, and they go out there in the night and they make crop circles. Some of them are artists like myself, and they fake them. But I do remember chatting to one when I was in the British Flying Saucer Bureau many years ago. I do remember chatting to a guy that was a crop circle kind of geek, and he said that he was out one night in a field with a bunch of his mates making a crop circle, and the next morning when they walked back to the road to escape the area, whatever you want to call it, there was another crop circle in the adjacent field which actually appeared during the night whilst they were faking their crop circle. So You got to, you know, I mean, there's a lot of misinformation here, and the thing is, a lot of these crop circles are actually real. I mean, even if they're man-made, they are real. They're still a crop circle. What I mean by real is not man-made. Some of them are not man-made, and if you do a bit of research into it, like I did a long time ago, the molecules in the stem, the lower part of the stem of the corn. The corn is actually pulled out of the ground. It's not just bent over as if someone's stood on it and trampled it down like the fake ones. So you can tell the difference between the fake ones and the non-fake ones, or the non-man-made ones. The man-made ones have the stems broken over, and the non-man-made ones do not. The stems are pulled out of the ground, and there is actually a change in the molecular structure of the stem and the molecules in the cells in the actual plant stem itself, which can be seen under a microscope. So don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Just because some dollar bills are faked doesn't mean you throw all your money away. Okay? Right, moving on. There's a lot to cover here. We covered the tooth fairy, lies, more lies and deception. Are humans getting cleverer? Yes. Yes, we are. But the problem is that the governments don't like this, so they keep moving the goalposts. The average IQ has gone up 20 points since 1950, it says here, and this is a well-known fact here. But this is being counteracted by people in education, who are controlled by government, of course, especially in the UK, by what they do, because they know that kids are getting too clever and are racing ahead in some areas. What they do is they're cutting education spending, they're cutting the number of teachers, they're cutting the number of A-levels that kids are going to be allowed to do in school here, and what they're basically trying to do is keep the population from getting too clever. If you have an over-educated population, then you don't have people to work in the supermarket and work behind the cash till and doing more menial jobs, like stacking shelves and stuff like that. This is what they want to do. They want to stop people getting too clever. Too many people have been going to college and university and getting clever, so they move the goalposts, and they do this constantly. They undermine teachers and lecturers, and then they undermine the students. They remove their funding. This has all happened in the UK in the last few years, and it's not getting any better. This is a conspiracy, and it's social engineering from a high order, from government. They don't want too many people to get too clever because they need people to work and do the more menial jobs. This has always been the case, and this probably goes right back to ancient times. You need a manual working population that do what they're told and don't go on strike. And if they're constantly in fear of their jobs, then they're not going to go on strike and they're not going to cause trouble. So it's in the government's interest to keep wages low, to keep morale low, to keep people living in fear. This goes back to what the press do. Well, they're constantly badgering you and bullshitting you and making you scared and threatening you with terrorist attacks, which are in this country probably far less likely than they were when the IRA were active in the 1970s. So it's all about fear and misinformation, and this goes right into the food industry as well. I mean, you've got stuff like aspartame, MSG, and this stuff's poisonous. I mean, aspartame, for instance, if you look at the list of possible side effects here, it's absolutely incredible that this stuff is even allowed to be used. Blindness in one or both eyes, decreased vision. I mean, you can look at all this. I'll have links to all these in the videos, by the way, so you can check out some of this stuff. I mean, this is unbelievable. Epileptic seizures, numbness in your limbs, severe slurring of speech, severe hyperactivity. I mean, the list goes on and on. Palpitations, high blood pressure, abdominal pain and swallowing. God, man, this is just horrendous. Death. That's critical symptoms. Oh my God. I mean, this is in all our soft drinks, people, This is in soft drinks mainly. It's increasingly in some foods as well, as an artificial sweetener. But avoid it. Don't buy if you drink orange squash, or if you drink soft drinks like that. If it says no added sugar on the front of it in big letters, it's probably got a lot of this stuff in instead. What you want is stuff with real sugar in. Real sugar isn't good for you either, but it ain't going to kill you, unless you really go crazy with the stuff, because it is actually a toxin. But this is worse. Aspartame is much worse than sugar, and it is really quite bad. It causes obesity. It changes your metabolism. It can cause all number of things. I won't go on about that. You can check it out yourself. The same is with MSG. There's lots of crap in there that's going to do you harm. I actually have an allergy to a lot of these things, MSG for one thing, and have an adverse reaction to it. Many people do. It's quite common now, and it should be avoided really if possible. It's not going to do you any good, that's for sure. And when in shopping in general, I think is a nightmare, and it's all related to this media kind of bullshit that we're given, where they lie to us about what they're putting in our food, and they lie about the prices and say, oh, this is half price when it's not half price, because full well that item that would never cost £5 or $5, yet they pretend it used to cost $5 and then mark it down to $2 or $2.50 and then say, oh, you're getting a half price. But it was never that price. It's BS. They do this in the UK all the time. You see it in Tesco's, you see it not so much in Lidl or Aldi or that sort of thing, but you get it in all the major supermarkets. Do this crap. Buy one get one free. All they do is they increase the price of the one object, so you're not really getting a bargain at all. It's BS. We're being lied to on a grand scale here, and supermarkets are all part of this. These are some cartoons that I did years ago, showing this is about shopping and stuff in general. This is JWHart.com. This is one of my old websites that I built years ago, and the funny thing is, people start to resemble the shape of their shopping bag as well. And here's an example. There's all sorts of stuff here. There's Father Christmas here. Father Christmas, of course, encourages obesity in children. The idea of sneaking down a chimney and nicking food or having mince pies and that kind of thing. This is weird stuff. They're trying to promote here. They're encouraging kids to sneak around and steal food and that kind of thing. And here's an example of how people do look like they're shopping here. They've got this fat guy on the right here. Now, these are real people that I saw in Bristol when I first moved to Southmead many years ago. And obviously I'm an artist and cartoonist, portrait artist, that kind of thing. And I was amazed by some of these people that I saw in the supermarket, and decided to do cartoons of them and turn them into illustrations, which are all on this website. So if you want to check out all my cartoon work, most of it's on here. People do start to resemble the shopping they carry, and bigger people tend to carry more shopping because they eat more. As simple as that. These are real people that I saw. These aren't made up. These are real people that I saw in Southmead and the surrounding areas when I was shopping, and people do resemble what they buy, and this is anthropomorphism in action here. People actually starting to look like what they buy, and the shape of the bag when they carry the bag home really is often very close to their shape and sagging and bulging out. This is something that I observed quite a lot, and I was quite amazed by it. And there's this woman here who's extremely thin with tiny bags of shopping with hardly anything in them. This is true of a lot of things. And people look like they're dogs as well. They have dogs that have the same hair colour as they do. There's anthropomorphism. You see a guy with ginger hair walking down the road, and he's got a dog with sort of gingery hair, and you see a guy with black hair with grey bits in it, and his dog will have black hair with grey bits in it, I mean, what is that? It's because we are attracted to the familiar, and we like to find things that remind us of ourselves, perhaps. And we kind of do this on a subconscious level, and supermarkets understand this. This is why many products are advertised with animals and have familiar objects involved in the title or in the name. I did study this when I was at college, marketing and stuff like that. So, but we are manipulated on a grand scale, and the supermarkets are complicit in this. And in fact, even just the other day, I was looking up some ingredients on something that I might be allergic to online, and it gave me one list of ingredients. And when I purchased the item in the supermarket, I assumed it was the same. Didn't look at it till I got home and looked at the ingredients, and it was different. So what the supermarkets are saying on their websites isn't what it's saying on the label, and often these things aren't even labelled. Some of the labelling over here really is deceptive. And if like me you have many food allergies, this is an absolute nightmare. It's a nightmare scenario. I have to carry a magnifying glass to look at some of these labels because the ingredients are so tiny. The text is so small that it's almost impossible to read. I mean, what are they trying to do? There's Father Christmas again. I think there's someone coming in the house. I'll try and carry on anyway. So there we have that. So here's one of my other websites. This is artbristol.com. If you want to see lots of my other stuff, it's all on here as well. This was a business that I was doing, but it's kind of not much money in it, and this kind of failed. But I left the website up anyway because it's like a portfolio of my work, really. So, we are being deceived on a grand scale, and this goes right the way through society, whether it's the government, whether it's supermarkets, whether it's NASA, whether it's the police, whether it's education, and we're basically zombies. We are a zombie society now, and I really do think many people are blindly walking. This is another one of my pictures, by the way. Zombie Cobain. I did this back in 2011. One of my more recent pictures. This is done in, I think it was done in acrylic paint on a canvas board. Obviously, I've got copyright all over this because I don't want anyone to steal it. But there you go. I mean, and we are basically brainwashed, and increasingly in the media are trying to overcome the information that we are getting ourselves. And of course, a lot of people now, I think what's happening now, it is quite interesting because so many people have mobile devices and laptops and that kind of thing, and tablets, whatever. People are not buying newspapers anymore, and the media are getting ever more desperate for your attention. So what they're doing is coming up with even more outlandish and even more outrageous headings for these newspaper articles. Like I said before, latest Mars bizarre rock. What on Mars appears to okay, but it's not. This thing's only about between 1 and 3 foot tall. This is probably something to do with a railway lever or something like I've suggested in my videos. But the thing is, what I'm trying to get across here is they're trying to scare us on every level. They're trying to misinform us on every level. Why are they doing this? Because they want the public to be scared, and a scared public eats more. So that the supermarkets are going to benefit from this because we eat more when we're scared because we want to comfort ourselves. And fat people don't live as long. Grossly overweight people don't live as long, and are not generally such a burden on the health system. So they die younger. So we don't have an overpopulation of unhealthy people living on and on and on until they're 90 or 100 years old. People are dying off in their 50s and 60s, even in their 40s, because they're over-consuming, whether it be alcohol or whether it be drugs or whether it be food. Food is one of the sugar is the biggest killer. Fat won't kill you. Sugar will kill you first. But what's worse than sugar? Aspartame. Aspartame will kill you even quicker. So it's a confusing mess that we live in. We live in a nightmare society that is really trying to scare us in every turn, everywhere we go. They're trying to scare us, and that's what this series of stuff is about here. I did this a bunch of sign designs here, and I put these up all over Bristol when I did this sign project a few years ago to advertise my website, and it kind of worked. It was great fun to do, and there's hundreds on here. I mean, some of these are quite funny, but also they're I better finish up with this video now because it's running on too late. I'll also go quickly to say that I think UFO Sightings News reported on this recently, and it's in all the papers. This thing here, Mars alien animal skull, calling it a dragon or some kind of thing. But basically, they claim to have found it only recently, like a couple of weeks ago. But I published this article on my site last year, in June the 19th. So this is yet another example of people hijacking stuff and claiming to have discovered it and then publishing it in the papers when some of us published it way back last year, So there you go. Just thought I'd throw that in anyway. I actually think it's some kind of herbivore, like a goat or some kind of small antelope or something like that. This guy, and this is actually much clearer when you see the enhancement. This is actually a much clearer image than you will see on the recent video that claims to have discovered it only about 2 weeks ago. So there you go. You can see lips here. You can see little teeth. There's a row of teeth at the front there, and there's an eye socket here, and there's even part of the eye still left here. This is the lower jaw here. It's cracked. Partly. I mean, this could be fossilized. It doesn't look fossilized, but it could be. It's really hard to tell. But this is one of many anomalies that I discovered early on last year, and other people are now claiming to have discovered it, which I think is a bit strange. So what's going on there? God only knows. So there we go. I think that just about covers it. I won't rattle on too much longer because I'll just show you some of these. I mean, this is one I put up outside McDonald's, And here's a design I did. This is I use this on my Google page. That's my avatar thing. What's the first thing that happens when a place is taken over by the military, whether it be the British military or the US military? What's the first thing they do? They build a base, and what do they build in that base? A KFC, McDonald's. That kind of thing. What is this all a part of the burgerization of society? And what I mean by burgerization is that everything is becoming mashed up and turned into unhealthy crap. And I think this is not just happening with our diet and with stuff we buy in the supermarket. This is happening with everything. Everything's becoming mashed up. Everything's becoming burgerized. Burgerization is a way of stopping you or preventing you from finding out what's really going on, and it's a way of manipulating people into thinking we haven't been to Mars or we haven't been to the moon, and it's forcing people down an intellectual cul-de-sac where once you're down that road, once you start believing that crap, then there's no coming back for you, really. I'm afraid you're lost once you start saying things like that, and once you start saying that we've never left Earth and all this kind of crap. I mean, come on, honestly. I mean, yeah, okay. Some of the stuff we get, a lot of the stuff we get from Mars and the Moon, a lot of the imagery is manipulated. We know that, but like I said before, just because some dollar bills are fake, it doesn't mean you throw them all away. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope this wasn't too long. Bit of a rant and a ramble, but I will see you soon.